Hey guys, it's been a while since I made anything fighting game related. Um, you know, COVID, I guess. But I've really been enjoying Rambo. And there's combo guides out there and even some strategy guides. But I haven't really seen anyone talk about what variations you should pick. Not I mean how you should set up your variation because you can choose exactly what moves you want to take into ranked now. So it's a meaningful discussion to have. Whereas before, people would just be like, you pick this variation and maybe that variation in certain matchups, and then the third variation would nearly always be not good, not never picked essentially. But now you can custom tailor it to your liking. There are a few moves though that are just not good, a few that are always good, a few that are situational, and I want to give my thoughts on that. I'm just gonna start with the bad ones, like the ones I think you should never pick, or at the very least, rarely like. So let's start with never. MRE, which is the one where he eats the bug, I think you should never pick this. I've tried to make it work. I've tried looking for setups where, maybe if they break away, I can get in, a safe buck cancel here. It's never safe. The move is extremely slow. About as slow or even slower as artillery strike and claymore, but unlike those moves, it's not putting any pressure on the screen. So it sometimes happens that when you put down an artillery strike or a claymore, that you get punished for it, but then the attack still happens. They still trigger the claymore, or the bomb still comes and intercepts their combo. That never happens with MRE. And you're getting back like so little health because the crushing blow is extremely hard to get. I'm almost gonna say impossible to get against decent opponents. It's impossible to get against decent opponents. So you're looking at healing like 6%. Let's leave it at that. You're gonna heal 6% when you get it. And if they then punish you, then it was a net loss, right? Because their combo or even just their normal is obviously gonna do more damage than the 6% you just healed. So I would never pick MRE. I'm sorry. I wanted it to be good. It's just not. Another move I would only pick in one situation is the M60. It's slower than the bow unless you meter burn it. Even if you meter burn it, it's just a high, just like the bow. Chip damage is identical to the bow, strangely enough. One bow arrow does about 2% chip damage, and one like M60 salvo, it's the same thing. Sometimes even slightly less, I've noticed. So M60 is only good at really one thing, in my opinion, and that is block pushback. So if you wanna do keep away Rambo and you value the pushback that M60 gets you, then maybe. But keep in mind it's a high, so if they duck it, no pushback. So for that reason, M60 I don't think is. I think in most situations it's just worse than the bow, and then you're giving up a slot to get it. No, I wouldn't do so. Now these two moves here, Leopard Crawl and Shoulder Roll, I'm gonna go over them at the same time, and I'm gonna recommend against picking them at the same time. Even though they have uses and they're pretty good, they're pretty decent. So Leopard Crawl, the main use is it's going to give you a few extra tick throws and mix-ups. Because the regular command grab does give Rambo a few tick throws, like 2, down 1 and down 3, but you can get tick throws off of like a forward 1, I think, with Leopard Crawl, and even a few others. I don't know it all by hand. So extra mix-ups, you would say that's good, right? Shoulder Roll can make a couple strings safe, assuming that they don't interrupt it and stuff. So those are handy things to have. But the issue I have with both of these is that they replace your Savage Slide. And Savage Slide is really the only thing you've got that is gonna put some power behind your fastest punish. Your 1-2, your jab punish, which is 9 frames, I think, if I'm recalling correctly. Might also be 8 frames. That's your strongest punish, and the only way you're gonna get some damage on that is by canceling into into Savage Slide and meter burning it. And you'll get even more damage if you then get the Crushing Blow, which happens on the 3rd meter burn slide. If you pick either one of these, you lose that slide. And you cannot make up for it with snare trap, because snare trap sadly doesn't work on your jab. It's the same thing for back 3-3. Let's say you're not using snare trap, but you are using either one of these, then your back 3-3 becomes a very weak string. Even without snare trap, it kind of feels a bit bad already. Not bad, but like you feel the lost potential when you're using back 3-3 without snare trap. And then if you're losing the slide also, it's not a good deal. And again, you're paying for it. I mean, you're giving up a slot to make certain strings, certain key strings worse. I wouldn't do it. Mace trap, I think, is good in certain situations. It replaces whip trap, and it's slower than the whip trap, just slightly. And that's enough to make certain combos not work, actually. Like, let's say you replace your savage slide, then you would rely on your whip trap, your default whip trap, to get your jab punish. But if you replaced it, then you've got mace trap, and mace trap won't combo. So it makes your combos a bit worse, which can be detrimental. But what's really handy is that it contests the airspace, right? So in like a matchup against, let's say, Fujin or like Cetrion, where she's using the aerial laser a lot, I think this move is going to be extremely useful. So I'm definitely going to put together a variation where I've got mace trap. I'm not entirely sure what the entire combination is going to be, but I need one variation with mace trap for those matchups, definitely. What's next? We'll go over artillery strike and claymore. So they're very slow. I mentioned this when talking about MRE, the bug snack, but after, I would say, 40 frames or so into the move, there's something on the screen already, right? So in the case of artillery strike, the smoke nade is down, is thrown, and in the case of the claymore, the trap is set. It's not active yet, but it's set. And then after, I think, 40, 50, maybe 60 more frames, I mean, some time passes, then the bomb comes flying, and then the red light starts to flash on the claymore, and that means that it's active. The motion detection is looking for an opponent to trigger it. So the key thing here is that even if you get caught by a move between the smoke grenade going down or the claymore being set and it going active, if you get caught in between, the attack is still gonna come. And that can save you, and it can lead to some hilarious setup, especially with the claymore. So I do recommend the claymore if you're looking to like set up some stuff. Claymore is especially handy if you've got them in the corner and you're doing a back 2-1 string, and you know, or you have a good feeling that they're gonna break away. If you cancel it into claymore, you're actually safe. So they wake up into the claymore, you are minus but safe, and so somehow they have to deal with this unblockable trap that's right on top of them. Super annoying, super strong to deal with. Artillery strike is a bit weaker because it's not an unblockable for the setup purpose, but I think it's handy as a tool to get in on zoners. So when you're getting out zoned and you're playing like a very aggressive style, that's kind of what you like to do. You can throw a smoke nade and it's gonna come down, and you've got like a bit of time to approach, knowing that the artillery backup is coming in, and they have to block it, they have to jump it, they have to somehow maneuver around it, and that can give you some breathing space to get in. So it's decent. Claymore as well, decent. Not key. Essentially these two, but don't write them off, experiment with them. Snare trap is expensive. Let's get that out of the way. It costs 2 slots, but it is very good. Sadly, it doesn't work on your jab string. If it did, I would pick it immediately. But crucially, it does give you a way better BNB on your back 3-3, as well as some other strings. It doesn't really enhance your back 2 string, because well, the juggle happens at the end. If you snare trap there, you're not gonna re-juggle them. So it doesn't enhance your back 2 string, but it does enhance your back 3 string, and that string is just super. So yeah, if you don't mind paying 2 slots to get, I would say, between 10 to 12% more on average for your BNBs, then go for it. Foobar, I think you should always pick Foobar. The crushing blow to begin with is a super simple requirement, right? You just catch them when they're rolling on wake up, and it does 30% immediately, and then another 12% after that as damage over time. So that's a huge amount. huge amount of damage for just getting, you know, for getting a read right for just some Oki. It's insane. The tick throws are kind of weak. Only down 1 and down 3 tick into this. And you don't really have a lot of plus frames in terms of your strings and your normals. I think it's only standing 3, and it's really not good for that. So you're gonna use this like when they're jailed, when you've got like huge amounts of plus frames, then you can maybe consider doing like a raw command grab, but the damage is kind of low. So it's good for the crushing blow, and it's a great combo in there. But I do think, since I didn't touch on this with the snare trap, but don't use this for a low high mix up, right? The startup is 32 frames. Anybody worth their salt is gonna react to it. So Rambo is not a high-low mix-up kind of character, is what I'm trying to say. He's like a stagger, mids, throws kind of character, and for that reason Fubar is really strong. It complements that, it makes it stronger. I think only Commando is left to go over. I think it's just a bit weaker than Fubar, but I do think it's really good. So it enhances 3 strings. 1-2 is usually you only get 1-2-1, but now it gets you 1-2, 1+3. That's a true throw ender at the end there, a high throw. Then there's forward 1-2, 1+3. So that would be his meterless launcher. You can go into something else. That's not super useful because there are multiple ways to get around it. The option selects are not very difficult. So that string is kind of... You could use it as like a meterless side switch ender if you're not using Fubar, because Fubar does also side switch. So if you want a side switch and you're not running Fubar, then you can use Commando for a meterless side switch. And then the back 3, 1+3 is a restand ender and leaves you +10, so that's obviously super strong in the corner. I think we went over all of them. So just to recap, Artillery Strike or Claymore, let's give that a maybe. Experiment with them. Claymore is extremely funny to use, and there are legit setups. Like I said, if you especially if you get a proper read on a breakaway and they're already in the corner and you put that Claymore down, that's, I want to say, almost a checkmate. They have a few options, but that's only escaping the Claymore. They're not really escaping your pressure. So Claymore, strong, recommended. Artillery Strike, also definitely useful. M60, unless you value the pushback, I wouldn't pick it. Snare Trap, if you want combo damage, take it. It's not really going to add anything other than combo damage, so it's not going to add to your, it's not going to increase your bag of tricks. It's not going to give you more tick throws. It's not going to give you more mix-ups, but when you do get the hit in, it's gonna be more rewarding, so it's worthwhile. Fubar, if it's not in your build, it should be, I think. I think it's a big mistake not to have this. Leopard Crawl and Shoulder Roll, there are uses for these moves, but just do keep in mind that you're making back 3-3 weaker, especially if you're not using Snare Trap by picking these, and you're also making your jab punish weaker by picking these, because the crushing blow on your default slide is just, it's super crucial and it's easy to hit. So MRE never. Mace Trap, my recommendation, pick this against people who like to jump or characters who like to jump. Otherwise, I don't think it's that much better than the regular whip trap. So it has to be about that air control. If you want to create a no-fly zone, then pick Mace Trap. Otherwise, I don't think it's good, even if that's not the main intent. It's obviously even good without that, but I don't think it's worth the slot without that. And Commando is very useful. It adds some tick throws. It adds a restand, and that's always great. Like not having to deal with wicks up. What am I saying? Not having to deal with wake ups. I said wicks ups. Not having to deal with wake ups is super useful, obviously. So that can really let you snowball your corner pressure, not have to worry about rules or wake up 3, stuff like that. So yeah, that's about it. For me, it would be very easy to put together a variation with just Snare Trap, Fubar, and Commando, call it a day, but sadly you only get 3 slots. So what I'm personally running is Claymore, Fubar, and Commando. So that's one variation I can recommend to you guys. And otherwise, I would pick snare trap and full bar together probably, or snare trap and commando. That's it. But I enjoy the setup that I use, because if I'm going up against, as I said, like the Fujin or the Cetrion or whatever aerial character it may be, then I can just swap out Claymore, which is the least key move I've got in here. I can just swap out Claymore, pick up a Mace Trap, and be done with it, right? I hope this was useful. Play some Rambo, he's amazing.